Well, safe to say when I published my last video, I was not expecting this level of support. More views than I've ever received on a video. More comments than I've ever received. A new likes record. A new dislikes record. Wait, what? Oh well, gotta take it how you take it. I just wanted to come on here real quick before we get started and say thank you guys so much for this. It really does mean the world. Now, naturally, with the success of the previous video, you'd expect me to probably capitalize on that and talk about baseball again. But that is not how my brain nor this channel work. So we're going away from baseball for this video. The simple reason for that being I've been hyper obsessed with nostalgic games from my childhood and had the desire to nerd out about one of them. So that's exactly what I'm gonna do today. The game in question for today is LEGO Racers, developed by High Voltage Software, who over the years have worked on quite a few games, including but not limited to All-Star Baseball 2001, Nicktoons MLB, Plants vs. Zombies 2, and Mortal Kombat X. The publisher behind it was LEGO Media, who have published a fair few LEGO games over the years, including LEGO Chess, LEGO Rock Raiders, and LEGO Island 2: The Brickster's Revenge. Together, these two released the game in 1999 for PC, the N64, and the PlayStation, and again in 2000 for the Game Boy Color. This game was LEGO's first entry into the racing game series. It is set in LEGO's fictional universe Legoland, a universe in which many early LEGO games are set. It is filled with original characters, though many of them are references to other pop culture and media. In terms of game mode, LEGO Racers had a few options for you. There was Circuit Race, which is basically the story mode, in which you send a player-created character on their quest to become the greatest LEGO racer of all time. 7 circuits and their respective hosting champions are standing in their way to do that. Now, Circuit Race carries further significance, as in, to begin the game, only one circuit and its 4 races are unlocked and ready to play. And by beating this first circuit, you unlock the second circuit. Beating the second circuit unlocks the third, and so on and so forth. Not just for Circuit Race, but as mentioned, for all other game modes as well. Beating a circuit means placing top 3, and along with the next circuit also unlocks new character and car parts for your character to be built with. These other game modes I alluded to are Single Race, which is basically the practice mode, there is Versus Race, which is a local 2-player multiplayer, and Time Race, which is a time trial versus your player character's mentor, Veronica Voltage. And beating all 12 of these time races unlocks Veronica's car set. As a side note, I didn't know about these rewards for the time races until after beginning my research for the script, so I never did complete them during my original recording. I did complete some of them off camera for the sake of it, but I gotta admit, they really aren't as tough as the story mode nor as the actual races. With all that out of the way, it's time to get into the gameplay and into the story. Now, of course, as with every game where you can create your own character, I spent 30 minutes in the character/car creator, only to eventually come up with probably the most unimaginative thing I could have possibly come up with. I named my racer Champ because, let's be real, they are born to be a racer, gave them a red suit, a red star-studded helmet, and a car resembling an F1 Ferrari. With our racer now created, we can get into the first circuit and its hosting champion, Captain Redbeard, who immediately upon starting the circuit, trash talks. This is going to be a theme carrying forward, and the trash talks are nothing short of hilarious. Surrounding Captain Redbeard is a 4-member support cast, each having their own dedicated track within their circuit. The first one of these tracks usually sticks to the champion's theme, but the rest of them are kind of whatever. In this case, the 4 support cast members are, in order of their races, Governor Broadside, who hosts the Imperial Grand Prix, Rob N. Hood, I shouldn't have to tell you what his reference is, who owns the Dark Forest Dash, Android, who owns the Magma Moon Marathon, so yes, pirates are going to the moon in this one, and the Pharaoh's Mummy, who hosts the Desert Adventure Dragway. For basically all of the circuits, the hosting champion is going to be your biggest competitor, as they should be. They are faster than both the player and the support cast, simply from their car, and the AI of them has a distinct behavior from the support cast, both in terms of driving skill and power-up usage. Now's probably a good time to mention the power-ups. There are 4 types of them in this game. The red bricks, which are projectiles, the blue bricks which are shields, the yellow bricks which are hazards, and the green bricks which are turbos. Each of these power-ups can be leveled up via the use of white bricks, which can be picked up in addition to any power-up you already have or stored in case you pick up a power-up later. I won't go into too much detail, but to quickly summarize, the projectiles get progressively stronger, the shields last progressively longer, the boosts get significantly stronger as it goes on, and the hazards become more annoying for whoever drives into them. What power-up you currently have can be switched by simply driving through a power-up of a different color, with the current power-up you have replacing the one that you picked up on the ground in its current position, as well as the upgrades you have will carry over. Keep this in mind, it'll become important again later. Now let's get back into the races. In terms of behavior of Captain Redbeard, the hosting champion, he loves the red bricks and is extremely trigger happy, meaning if you're in front of him and he picks up a red brick, get ready to be hit. Now this is quite easy to adjust to, as he is by driving skill the least skilled of the champions. The strategies are basically, if you're in front of him by a little bit, go for shields and blue bricks, or quickly build distance to avoid his projectiles. In terms of power-up distribution, on his tracks there are mostly red power-ups, though there's a decent amount of every type scattered throughout. As the races are going on, this is probably a good time to mention the shortcuts. Every track but one in the entire game has at least one shortcut. Some of these are open and you just have to drive through them, others need to be unlocked with a projectile or a red brick. Some are one-time unlocks, like these barrels in the first race of Redbeard Circuit or this Things path in the fourth. Others, which we'll see later, need to be unlocked every time you go through them. All in all, Redbeard Circuit goes by without much trouble, though my keyboard controls decided to die a couple of times, which totally isn't foreshadowing for later races, but I still managed to go 4 for 4 on race wins, cleanly sweeping this circuit. As mentioned before, you unlock things as you complete the circuits. And post our victory celebration, Redbeard gives us his car set, character set of himself and his support cast, and we unlock the second circuit. I then went and upgraded, quote unquote, my car with 2 swords, as the plan at this point was to add a part from every car set of every champion to my own car as I went through the game. Having beaten Captain Redbeard, we move on to the next circuit and are met by its hosting champion King Kahuka. I hope that's how you pronounce his name, I'm sorry if it's wrong. He's the leader of a native tribe and trash talks us in broken English. His support cast is made up of Islander, who hosts the Tribal Island Trial, the Royal King, who hosts the Royal Knight Raceway, Commander Cold, who hosts the Ice Planet Pathway, and Achu, who hosts the Amazon Adventure Alley. These races are definitely an upstep in difficulty, and my keyboard again decided to die a few times, which made it infinitely more difficult to race. This one was not a clean sweep, as in the first race I was super close to King Kahuka, but fired my last shot a fraction of a second too late from preventing him from crossing the finish line. In the second race I again finished second, this time behind the Royal King, who won at his home circuit, the Royal Knight Raceway, with Kahuka finishing in third behind me. Having finished second in both races I didn't win, and with Kahuka not finishing in first in both of them, I still managed to lock in enough points for the overall win, as I won both final races. One thing to note though, I used basically 0 shortcuts throughout any of these races, as I didn't remember where any of them were. In terms of AI behavior, King Kahuka is much more passive compared to Redbeard. He goes mainly for blue bricks and will rarely use any other type of power-up unless he picks them up by accident. The strategy is pretty simple. You basically are able to ignore him entirely and focus on green bricks, which, while they are rare on this track, still allow you to build a sizable lead. As alluded to, the power-up distribution on this track is mainly blue and passive, and there's rarely any green to really boost yourself. After my victory, I again received King Kahuka's car set and character sets and unlocked the third circuit. I also went and upgraded my car, adding King Kahuka's throne top, I don't know exactly what to call it, to the front of my car as a little accessory. With the second circuit cleared, we move on to the circuit that, during the story, arguably gave me the most amount of trouble. Circuit number 3 with its hosting champion Basil the Batlord, who is probably the most on-the-nose pop culture reference, as he even has a Batman-style spooky opening, and of course trash talks us like every other champion has done so far. Basil is supported by Willa the Witch, who hosts the Night Marathon, which, fun fact, is the only track in this game without a shortcut, Blackjack Hawkins, who hosts the Pirate Skull Pass, Sam Sinister, who hosts the Adventure Temple Trial, and Alpha Dragonis, who hosts the Alien Rally Asteroid. As I've mentioned before, this circuit gave me the most trouble out of all of them. which is largely because my keyboard died a lot and cost me quite a few attempts at winning races or the entire circuit. And generally it's not as easy of a circuit, mainly due to Basil's AI. What am I talking about? Now, Basil is a good starter and usually gets a small rocket boost right as he starts, which the player can do too, but you need to be near pixel perfect. Furthermore, Basil has a set path on each track, which usually involves grabbing an early green, 3 white bricks, and then immediately time warping out of reach. If this is not countered by either starting better than him or just pure luck, it's basically impossible to catch up to him on any of these races. Now, the power-ups on these tracks are rather varied and there's a decent amount of green. Especially, there's always 1 green close to a start to support Basil's strategy of an immediate time warp. On my first victory, I was able to achieve a tie for first place with Basil, which counts as a first place finish and of course unlocks the next circuit as well as Basil's car set and character sets. I wasn't satisfied with that, however, and decided to give it one more go. I won 3 out of the 4 races this time for a legit victory. Now, for some post-race notes on this circuit, the tight corners and twisted turns this circuit and its tracks bring do not work with these controls or the physics of the game. And especially for a children's game, which LEGO Racers is, the races and especially the champions, Basil most of all for now, are unforgiving of mistakes. With a champion already being generally faster than a player character, this makes it insanely difficult to recover from even smaller mistakes. After beating Basil's circuit for real, I didn't make a car upgrade as Basil's parts simply did not fit anywhere on my car. So for the rest of this video, the car will remain the same. An F1 car with 2 swords and a piece of the tribal throne. With Basil finally completed, we move on to the 4th circuit. The hosting champion this time around is Johnny Thunder, who is a reference to Indiana Jones and has probably one of the most generic openings in this entire game, basically just saying, "Me and my car are ready to win." Now, the support cast for Johnny Thunder as well as their tracks are Pharaoh's Mummy with the Desert Adventure Dragway, Android with the Magma Moon Marathon, Rob and Hood with the Dark Forest Dash, and Governor Broadside with the Imperial Grand Prix. Sound familiar? Well, they should. Circuits 4, 5, and 6 are basically just circuits 1, 2, and 3, but the tracks are mirrored and are played in reverse order. Generally, from here on out, the races should all look kind of familiar, with the only changes being the new hosting champions. After Basil, this was a breath of fresh air, as the tracks are back to being a lot wider and not as cramped, narrow, and twisted as Basil's, and of course, I'm already familiar with these tracks despite them being mirrored. Johnny Thunder himself isn't too tough, he can make it competitive, but that didn't stop me from cleanly sweeping this circuit. To add some more on Johnny Thunder, he uses a variety of power-up, basically just what's convenient and what he happens to drive through, though he will target mostly red bricks. He's not terribly aggressive or defensive with his power-up usage, and put up some good fights in the later races. Overall, I'd say Johnny Thunder is a lot easier than Basil, both in terms of the tracks he drives on and the opponent's AI. With Johnny Thunder cleared, we move on to the 5th circuit, and are met with Baron von Baron. What makes Baron so special? Well, he's German, or at least has a German accent. You can tell from the subtitles of his trash talk. And he is from the same LEGO universe as Johnny Thunder, which makes sense given who Johnny Thunder is a reference to in Indiana Jones. He is supported by the same cast as King Kahuka from earlier, though in reverse order. So his races are Achum, who hosts the Amazon Adventure Alley, Commander Cold with the Ice Planet Pathway, the Royal King with the Royal Knights Raceway, and Islander with the Tribal Island Trial. When it comes to Baron's behavior, he is mainly defensive in the style of King Kahuka, though more inclined to use other power-ups when it is suitable for himself. In terms of the races, there was nothing special going on. It was a clean sweep, though it was close with Baron in 3 out of the 4 races, and I realized pretty quickly that the new controls were a very good choice, as my keyboard did not die once. The 6th circuit plays home to Gypsy Moth, who calls herself a veteran racer and is quite welcoming of your challenge, saying, quote, "You think you can outrace me? I'd like to see you try." She's probably the most respectful of the hosting champions, as she doesn't really insult or quote-unquote threaten you during her intro and just is arguably happy to have competition. Her support cast is the same as Basil's, but in reverse order as we've established, so her tracks in order go Alpha Dragonis with the Alien Rally Asteroid, Sam Sinister with the Adventure Temple Trial, Blackjack Hawkins with the Pirate Skull Pass, and Willa the Witch with the Night Marathon. In terms of behavior, Gypsy Moth is similar to Basil, as she has a set path for an early high tier boost, usually the time warp, and a strategy is you usually need a good start to counter this. In terms of the races, I had some good starts, mostly, though I did make some mistakes on my first attempt. I still ended up tied for first with Gypsy Moth herself, which counts as a first place and unlocks the final circuit. I wasn't happy with just tying, so I redid the circuit and won all 4 races this time, in preparation for the final circuit and just for the sake of it. And by having beaten Gypsy Moth, Champ had done it, and worked their way through every circuit and every hosting champion, and had finally become a LEGO champion. Now, joined by their mentor, Veronica Voltage, it was time for our champ to face their hardest challenge yet, the best LEGO racer ever, Rocket Racer. The 7th circuit is special as it's only one race, Rocket Racer Run, and belongs to the hosting champion, Rocket Racer himself. There is still a 4-member support cast, consisting of characters of the themes of previous hosting champions. There is Admiral from the Pirates/Islanders theme, which is where Redbeard and Kahuka are from. There is Gale Storm from the Adventurers theme of Johnny Thunder and Baron Von Baron. There is Nova Hunter of the Explorians theme, where Gypsy Moth is from. And then there is the Black Knight from the Black Knights theme, which is Basil. Kind of. Basil is from Fright Nights, a more supernatural theme, leaning into witchcraft and the like. So it's not directly connected to the Black Knight/Kingdom theme, but it's close enough. For Rocket Racer himself, he has an epic slow motion entrance, which you've already seen as I talked about him earlier, and is very confident and cocky, saying he'll be waiting for us at the finish line. His behavior is he's a very fast starter. He rarely misses a rocket, and his strategy can be summed up into 2 words: time warp. 1 green, 3 whites, gone. If he ever gets out to a decent lead, it's basically over, as he can easily collect the bricks needed to get another time warp within about 10 seconds. This one took me a few tries to get right. It's very tough to counter Rocket Racer's time warp strategy, as you gotta play near perfect to do it. The track is obviously tailored to Rocket Racer, it's his own track after all, and is littered with green bricks and white bricks, which is perfect for his strategy. The track does have a few red bricks, like I think 3 blue bricks and a single yellow somewhere. There is a central shortcut, which is a time warp in itself, but it needs to be unlocked with a red brick every single use. But this one can be a game changer if it's played right. On my winning attempt against Rocket Racer, I was behind early as he got out to an early time warp. I caught up with a time warp of my own, but he quickly got back ahead with his own time warp, but I ended up getting super lucky afterwards. As I time warped into a red brick, it shot open the time warp shortcut and immediately got a second time warp out of that, keeping me quite even with Rocket Racer, who had time warped at the same time as me. I used a lightning to keep Rocket Racer from warping again, though in all honesty I'm pretty sure his AI messed up, as I see him on video get 3 white bricks and a green, but he doesn't warp instantly. In all honesty, I'm not sure if it would have mattered, as I could have gotten another warp 5 seconds after him. I just want to mention it for the sake of fairness. After stopping him from time warping, I used my own time warp to build a lead, and he never got another time warp. I sealed the deal with a final time warp, getting me across the finish line in first place. And at last, with Rocket Racer himself giving them their flowers, Champ was the greatest LEGO racing champion of all time, finally completing the goal they'd worked for all this time. As the credits roll for the game, here's a fun fact about it. Rocket Racer is the only champion to have no relation of any kind to any of the other hosting champions. Case in point, the Islanders are part of a Pirates theme. So it is implied that Redbeard and King Kahuka have met each other, as is evidenced by LEGO sets like Kahuka's Throne, where you see both Pirates, Islanders, and Kahuka himself. Baron Von Baron and Johnny Thunder are rivals from the same theme, the Adventurers theme. The Insectoids and the UFO themes, which Gypsy Moth hails from, are both Zotaxian fractions, and UFO, the theme, has canonically invaded Castle Planet, where Basil the Batlord's castle is located. So yeah, this game is still fun, even after all these years, especially for a game from 1999. It's still very much as difficult as I remember it being, especially Basil and Rocket Racer, as much as both of them are very much beatable to me now. The tracks themselves are generally designed well, both in terms of racetrack, shortcuts, and overall design, aside from a few sections which for gameplay reasons are too cramped and twisted for the game's physics in some aspects. Repeating the tracks mirrored for later champions is quite lazy, to be fair, but it doesn't take away too much from the experience, as the themes of the champions generally fit well with the support cast, at least for the first race in each circuit. Rocket Racer Run and Rocket Racer himself make for a good final challenge. The track is difficult, not too forgiving of your own mistakes, and it tests your skills and knowledge of both shortcuts, power-ups, and overall racecraft pretty well. Looking at the game overall, I'd give it a solid 6 out of 10. The gameplay's alright, the controls are janky at times, but generally okay. The design and art are very solid for a time, but the game isn't quite polished or expansive enough to truly be more than the nostalgic one-off you revisit every now and again. And that's it. A 25-plus-year-old LEGO racing game revisited and crammed into one video. I hope you enjoyed it and aren't too mad at me for going away from baseball for a video. There will be more baseball content in the future, I promise. Until then, and until I decide what I want to do next, please feel free to leave a like and subscribe. It would really help the channel out a lot. And feel free to leave a comment telling me, did you play this game? What was your favorite part about it? And are there other LEGO games that you played during your childhood? I'd like to know. And until next time, it was an honor. I'll see you later. Goodbye.